What's up, everybody? It's your man right here, the one, the only, that beautiful Rhode Island Red Rooster, one of the original Cold War Lords. And I'm doing this particular video to speak about suicide, depression. Suicide and depression. Or should I say depression and suicide? Before I get started, I want to give a great big shout out to my sister LaDon Jones. I appreciate that. You know, I looked at I had a chance to go back, look at the footage and stuff, man. You know, hey, it's amazing. You know, when people are spiritually in tune, you know, they spiritually in tune and stuff, they tend to see a lot of things that you can't see. And so, you know, I figure I said I'll go ahead and drop this video about, you know, some stuff about myself, you know, some of the things I had to work through the years. Because the conclusion of the matter is that never be afraid, man, to ask for help. Never be afraid to ask for help. Because I might not have, and I'll be the first to say it, I don't have the intellectual capacities to steer one through depression and suicide, you know. But I can say and stuff is that if you put yourself out there to get some help, some real help, then, you know, you'll get what's needed. And like I said, I'm going to use myself as an example. October is a very depressing month. Where it's not so depressing, it's just you know, my mother, you know, I've been talking about this a lot of stuff. My mother passing away. She passed away October 31st, 2014, Halloween. And so it made me think about a story and stuff about Halloween and stuff. You know, Halloween is, you know, the story of Halloween is that we're living between three planes. You have heaven, you have hell, and you have purgatory. And so, according to folklore, this present plane right here that we live in, this is purgatory. And so, the story goes with Halloween is that in order to leave purgatory to ascend to heaven, those who pray hard enough, right? If you pray hard enough, then you'll ascend into heaven. You know, you'll ascend into heaven and stuff. And so, you know, I've always been familiar with that folklore, but, you know, it just made me think real hard about, you know, my mother when she passed away. You know, because when she died, I was in there in the room when she did it. You know, and of course everybody gives you the story and stuff about, you know, make sure you talk to her through this transition and stuff like that. And so, you know, I didn't have any kind of understanding or perception about it. And I was upset because here's the woman that gave birth to me, and there's nothing I can do to help her. There's nothing I can do to help her. And so it's just, the only thing I was filled with was anger, frustration, and fury, because it's a situation that lays in front of me and I can't do anything about it. And I'm like, you know, just talking to, you know, just saying, man, I mean, witnessing this, I'm like, I just say, I wish it was me and not her. I just wish it was me and not her. If there was some kind of way of me trading my position with her and stuff, then I would do it. You know, even though my mother wouldn't allow it, even though she wouldn't allow it, even though, you know, she given me everything that I needed to grow up and be the man that I am. But you know, this is your loved one right there and stuff. And so what I learned later on in life and stuff is that my mother was always about giving me instruction on how to deal with things and stuff. And so my mother's last lesson that she taught me was to not fear death, to not be afraid of it and stuff, you know, in fact, to embrace it. You know, without her, you know, she wasn't talking to me through the process, but I mean, I knew she was. And me being the child, you don't really understand the lessons and stuff at first, you know. Growing up, my mother always taught me the importance of, you know, reading and mathematics, the importance of, you know, a good hygiene, you know, how to structure myself, you know. And so in the lessons of her teaching me this and stuff, sometimes I would humble myself, and then sometimes I wouldn't. Some lessons I would get right when she teaches it, and then some lessons I would get later on. And so, you know, in this particular situation, it was one where I had to learn later on. You know, and this is why I say I'm not so upset now. You know, yes, I'm sad. You know, I'm sad because, I mean, you know, this is my mother, and she's not here. But I also understand the process of life and how not to be selfish. This time, you know, my mother also taught me that lesson too, because there's many people out here that are just like me. You know, I was blessed to have a mother who gave birth to me, and that was there every step of the way. You know, and her choosing my father who was also there with me every step of the way, because, you know, that transition there and stuff, man, I mean, he knew what I was going through and stuff, man. I mean, it's like, you know, they kind of, you know, my parents did like a trade-off. It's like, when I got to missing my father, you know, my mother was there to support me and stuff, and you know, she was there to support me every step of the way. And so, same thing with my father. When I get to missing my mother, same thing. You know, so I couldn't ask for better parents, man. You know, it's truly, you know, it's beyond a blessing. But you know, you always perceive death as being some kind of, you know, someone actually, you know, you look on TV and stuff and you see, or in movies, and you see people pass away and stuff like that, and sometimes they just, you know, you got all the dramatics, but I mean, to see it in real life and to witness it, and you know, it's just 1 second my mother was there and the next she wasn't. And you know, the call out to her and stuff, and she didn't answer me back. You know, that was it. But I couldn't cry for something, you know. As sad as the situation was, I couldn't cry. You know, I couldn't cry and stuff, man. All that, you know, I had to, you know, as a man, it's the man she taught me to be, I had to go out there and fulfill the instructions. You know, I had to go got the nurse, and, you know, the nurse, well, you know, is it time for me to check on your mother? You know, like, no, it's, you know, she's gone now. You know, so the chaplain, they came in. You know, they said a prayer. You know, they said a prayer over my mother, and that was that. You know, we covered up on, you know, took her to the funeral home and stuff that she wanted to go to and stuff, and that was that. And we buried my mother, and like I said, I couldn't cry. You know, when I went to the funeral home, you know, I couldn't cry. You know, I couldn't cry and stuff. But the only time that I ever cried was when, you know, when everything was over with. When everything was over with and stuff, and everybody was going, you know, everybody was leaving, and so my dad came to the house to check on me. You know, when him and my brother came over there and checked on me that last time, that's when I could cry, because I'm like, well, it's all over. You know, the whole process, the whole ordeal and stuff is over with. And so, you know, I did it, and that was that, and, you know, and I went back to work. But when I went back to work, I had this. It's like it was this fire that burned inside of me, and that's what really it really pushed me into this business that I was in, because I remember a conversation that my mother was having, is that, you know, my mother taught me that, she said, you know, I'm going to be successful. It's going to take some hard work and stuff, but the thing that you want to do, and I always just tell my mom I want to drive a truck for a living, you know, and she never discouraged that. And she said, you're going to be the best. You're going to be the best that's out there, the best that you can be. And so that's what just pushed me harder, you know, it just pushed me harder into the business and stuff, man. You know, I was able to sit there and just transform. I just did a complete transformation and stuff, but, you know, I also had to rid myself of people that were keeping me from my goal, the ones that would lead to my depression. Because years prior, and this is where we go into the suicide, you know, the suicide and depression, part of my life. When I was married, you know, I was married to my second wife. I thought the world of her, you know. I thought the world of her and stuff. And so when I was out here doing this, I thought I was doing it for her and for my family, so that I can provide the very best life that I can for them. I thought I was providing the very best life for them. And so, you know, she was, for whatever reason, you know, she wanted to do her. And she wanted to do her and stuff. And so I didn't have the mental capacity to deal with the fact that my marriage at the time was over. And so I went through a year-long depression. You know, and I say that was probably the worst time in my life and stuff, man. That whole year of having this hurt in my heart and not knowing how to deal with it and stuff. It's like, all I thought about was my wife. I wake up day and night, and I prayed very hard. I prayed very hard for just a phone call, just to be around her, just for her to talk to me. This how little I thought of myself, that I was doing all this harm to myself. It wasn't nobody doing any harm. It wasn't her. It was me doing harm to myself. Which, when they say the phrase that you can be your own worst enemy, and that, you can be your own worst enemy, your mind is the greatest weapon. That's what it means. It wasn't it wasn't her doing anything to me specifically, because she said she went and moved on with her life. It was just me caught up in the concept of believing in something that isn't true anymore. And so, when you're in this position and people know it, they'll take advantage of it. They'll take advantage of it. Well, hey, since you still believe in certain things, that's when they'll call on you and, make you feel, you feeling worthless. And it's like they calling on you, give you some kind of meaning. At that particular juncture, you feel, okay, I have meaning. And the only thing you're doing is being used, You're making that person's life happy, and the person that they're dealing with, they're making them happy too. But you're doing a great injustice to yourself. And so, I suffered. I suffered emotionally, I suffered physically, I suffered financially. All because I was not willing to deal with the fact of the reality that I was facing. And so I'm giving on this fake persona. And I'm calling on people. And stuff, and I'm talking to them, but the thing, they all telling me the same thing, is that, man, listen, dude, I can't help you if you don't want to help yourself. You don't love yourself. And I thought my perception of love was, having love for my family, and that wasn't it. Like, man, you don't love yourself, man. Look at what you're doing to yourself. Look at what you're doing, man. And so I'm like, listen, I need some advice on how to get my marriage back. Like, no, man, you don't need no help on that. What you need help on is getting yourself right. This is what everyone was telling me. And my mother included, she gave me the best advice. She told me, she said, years from now, you're going to look back and all this is going to seem foolish, what you did. You don't see it now and stuff, But everything that you're doing is going to seem foolish. You got to get yourself right. You got to get yourself right. And so, for a little while, it was just this one instance and how I snapped out of it. How I snapped out of my depression. I was at my sister's house, and I got in my truck, and I went to Walmart. I bobtailed to Walmart, and I sat in the parking lot. Just, I cut the truck off, sat in the parking lot in the front seat, and I was just noticing everybody that was going in the store and out the store and just carrying about and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on, right? But obviously, that has to be a normal for them, to carry about, to go about their business, you know, whether they're by themselves or with their families and stuff like that. And, you know, and I'm sitting up here in this truck, and I'm like, you know, what am I doing? You know, what am I doing and stuff, man? I'm like, this isn't normal. What's going on with you? You got to snap out of it. It's been over a year now. You got to snap out of it. You got to snap out now, because everything that you asked for, you know, you asked to die, and yet you still here every day. You wake up every morning, and yet you're here. You're still here, and you're able to persevere every single day. Snap out of it. And just like that, it was gone. I got my appetite back. And I was back into the reality of the world. I was able to deal with business and so on and so forth. And I came to that the realization, hey, it's over. So when my phone started ringing, hey, I didn't pick up, because I'm like, you know, hey, I'm nobody. You know, this is a woman who calls herself my wife, but I'm nobody's husband. You know, I'm nobody's husband. So, you know, your obligation is to be who you will. And I'm gonna start focusing on me. But you know, the people around you, when they know that you snapped out of it, oh, they change. You know, they change and stuff. And so, because of me not getting a more intellectual side of help, you know, I slid back into saying, okay, well, all right, yeah, I'll give it one last try, right? I'll give it one last try and stuff. And so, you know, I went back and as long as everything and stuff was okay, right? She back doing her. You know, she back doing her, and I'm just over here providing for the house and stuff like that, those sort of things there. And so, you know, then she comes back to me again. And she says, hey, you know, I really love this guy. You know, I really love this guy. I want to be with him. And so that depression just came back again. It's just like, and this time it came back even harder. It came back even harder because when it set in this time, you know, I was trying to shake it and I couldn't. And so I thought that the only way out and stuff was suicide. I thought the only way out was suicide and stuff, you know. When I was going through my depression, I always contemplated it, but this time I said I'm actually gonna go through it. So, you know, I went to my sister's house, right? And, you know, they let me in the house and stuff like that. So, I asked for something. To help me sleep. And so he showed me where his sleep medicine was at. You know, he showed me where his sleep medicine was at. You know, he gave me one pill. He said, this one pill is all you need. You know, this one pill is all you need. So I took it, and yeah, you know, I went to sleep. And then I woke back up, and, you know, still depressed. So I I made so since I knew all the pills and stuff were at, I made my goodbye video. And I made sure that the phone was charged. I made sure that when they found me, that, you know, it would be right there. It would be right there and stuff, and right there beside me. And this is after I looked up Google. You know, I looked up Google and stuff, and so they showed me the instruction. You know, they showed me the instruction on how many pills that I was going to need in order to do it. But in the midst of it, right, looking at that Google, a lot of stuff started flooding my page. And the stuff that was flooding my page was all these pop-ups and stuff. There were things about me to go get help. And so, you know, I was reading, you know, they was giving me the whole step-by-step process there. Like, well, listen, you know, if you go to this particular rehab center and stuff, this is what's going to happen. But, you know, before you think about doing it, you know, consider doing this, right? Since you already, you know, you call yourself at the end of your life, right? Have you really done everything? And then they, you know, hey, if that doesn't work, right? If that doesn't work, then, well, you're justified to go do what you got to do. And I'm like, you know, I'm denying it. I'm like, no, I don't need help. I don't need help. What I need to do is just go ahead and die. So, I went, made the video. I got the pills. And I had to hype myself up to do it. I had to hype myself up to do it. And then I did it. I took the pills. And stuff. And when I swallowed them, regret came in right then. Instant regret. Everything I was thinking about that I never did came to me all at one time. I never got to read these certain books. I never been to this place here. I never did this. I never did that. I didn't make this accomplishment. I didn't make that accomplishment. All these things, it just, the second I swallowed those pills and I knew that death was imminent, I was overrushed by all the stuff that I could have done. And that's when fear hit me. That's when the fear hit me. And as those pills began to take effect, and my body began to shut down, I lost my ability to move. I lost my ability to speak. And all I could do was just lay there. As everything around me started to get dark and cold. And that's all I was thinking about, was all of my accomplishments of the things that I didn't do and my will to live. Because I knew I did something foolish. And like that, I was gone. I was out. I can't remember what I dreamt about. But I can remember when I woke up, when I got up, I jumped up. And I checked to make sure that I was still alive, right? made sure I checked to make sure everything, I was alive, man. I went in there, I ran in there, and I woke up my sister's boyfriend, right? And I told him what I did. I told him what I did and stuff, man, and he didn't fuss me out. He didn't argue with me, nothing like that. He said, man, come on, let's go. So I grabbed my coat and he took me to the hospital. And he knew everybody at the hospital. We went in from the back side and stuff. And so when they brought me in, he took care of everything for me. And he took care of everything for me. And he came back, he said, listen, he said, I went through the same thing. And stuff. He said, they are going to help you. He said, the only reason why I'm breaking, he said, I wouldn't do anything to harm you. But you got to get some help now. And so, they're going to take care of you. I got you. I got everything. Don't worry about nothing. Just do what they tell you to do and stuff, and you'll be fine. This is the time right here. He said, man, don't hold nothing back. Don't hold anything back. They are at your leisure to make sure that you get help. So, they took me to this place over there on the other side of the hospital. And, of course, they took, I had to give them my shoes and I had to give them my belt. And I remember crying again. I cried, because, and, of course, the nurse, they was there, they was telling, listen, don't worry about it. It's not what you think. It's not what you think. We're just here to help. And so, I went in there. I went in that building and I stayed in there for 9 days. I went in there, I stayed in there for 9 days and stuff. And so, in those 9 days, I was able to tap into what was important to me. And so when I spoke to the doctors, I was telling them all the books, all the literature and stuff, man, that I was going to read. I got a trucking business that's outside that's waiting for me. And there's a lot of things I want to participate in. But the one thing I want to be more than anything else, I want to be the representation of strength. I want to be the representation of strength. I want to be that man that my mother sees when she looks at me. Something that I can be proud of. Because it was instilled in me. It was instilled in me to, to be that. And so, he says, well, you can definitely do that. He says, the sky's the limit. And he offered me great words of encouragement. And so, when out, of course, you know, a lot of people wanted to know where I was and stuff for 9 days and stuff like that. And so, you know, it was only for the people who mattered. And I remember going to my mother's house and stuff, and she was like, well, what do you want to do? And so I was telling her, like, you know, Mom, hey, I got a lot of work to do. I got a lot of work to do and stuff, and I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm definitely going to get there. The one thing I'm not going to do and stuff, I'm not going to go back to that anymore. That part of my life is over. And I never contemplated about suicide since. I never contemplated about it. But it definitely gives you you know, when I talk about suicide and depression, you know, I got a great insight and stuff about it, and it's like, you know, you kind of pick up on a lot of things and stuff, man. You're more compassionate. You know, you're more compassionate. Not to a point where you become an expert and say, well, yeah, I have the tools and stuff that can help you, but you can point people in the right direction to those who can help. And so, you know, it's a very serious thing. A lot of people feel like, well, you know, we have, and a lot of people have the mental capacities to deal with certain things that are going on in their life. But, and then there are those who don't, that just need some help and point them in the right direction. You know, of course, if we have the mental capacities to deal with certain things, then yeah, we can offer our help and our assistance. But we think a lot of times because of asking for help is some kind of or a form of weakness, because we don't want to appear ourselves to be weak. Men are taught not to cry, you know, not to have feelings about certain things and stuff, about certain people, about certain things in life. You know, we're all created with this care. We care for people. We have a compassionate care. And when you care about something, your heart's gonna be in it. But oftentimes we care about all the wrong things. We care about all the wrong things, and then when these things happen to us and stuff, you know, the repercussion behind it is that, well, never put your feelings out there to a point where you can feel that type of hurt, because everyone, you can remember that hurt. You can remember the joy, but you can definitely remember that hurt. And it's that place and that period of time that you're not trying to go into, you know. When you're dealing with certain people, you're dealing with certain people in your life, you don't want to go back down that path again and stuff, because you remember the hurt that follows. So we build ourselves up to a point to where we become the very embodiment of the thing of which we hate, and which is not a person, or not a person, but a certain behavior that was passed on to you. Now you say, well, I have to protect myself. I have to put on this persona, because caring for something, loving something, telling something that you love it, it hurts too much. So I'm gonna just love from a distance. I'm gonna just get what I gotta get, and no feelings and emotion is gonna be involved in it. And then, of course, these characteristics are passed on from people to people, because they say, well, that's the best way to deal with stuff. Because, see, when you love something, you know what's going to happen. You're going to wind up losing your mind. And the thing that I believe that's not being taught in the world is that we don't have... It's okay to love. It's okay to love. It's just the feelings that come with love, right? That's what we, that's what we don't have. We don't have that. We don't have that ability deal with the fact that, well, there's some hurt that's going to come. And so there's some hurt that's going to come. And so, enough of that isn't being taught to where we can still love, but we learn how to deal with the fact that, well, some things and stuff aren't going to love us back the same way that we love it. Some things aren't going to care about the things that we care about it. But it's okay. It's just not to sink into that level to a point to where that changes you for the worse instead of for the better. I believe that that's the, I guess that's the best way I can describe it. So, yeah. So October is a very, it's a month that I want to dedicate my time to, dedicate my time, to just working a little bit harder. Because, my mother's always on my mind constantly. But, it's not to a point where I'm saddened by it, because a lot of things, I've also purchased my truck in October too. And so, I just dedicate that time and stuff into, into working hard and stuff. I think about it. And I think about it, and I say, what better way than to show tribute to my mother by showing her that I'm in good spirits and that I continue to do the very best that I can in the profession that I love. So, by no means, I'm no expert in dealing with the matters of the mind. But what I can say is that never be ashamed and never let anyone shame you into getting the help that you need if you need it. If you truly, honestly need it. And before you, before you decide to go off and do something like that, ask yourself, have you done everything that you can? Because if you haven't went to get help, then you haven't really done anything. You really haven't done anything. And you don't want to be at that position in your life thinking that you've done everything that you could to find out that there was actually plenty of things that you could have done, but you withheld yourself back because you want to hold on to this concept of saying that, well, I can do these things and stuff on my own. we're all put down here on this planet, all of us to share this one planet Earth to, I believe, help one another. And so if there's some information, if there's something that you have that can pass on to another person that's helpful, and then I believe that we're all obligated to pass these things on so that it can help the next individual. And whatever it is and stuff that they're dealing with. So again, never be ashamed of that. Never be ashamed of asking for help, and never let nobody shame you, because we all need help one point in our life. And so when you're dealing with that crisis like that, you can't really be leaning on your own understanding. You can't lean on your own understanding, because sometimes you need to see things from a different point of view. And the only people that can see it sometimes are those that are from the outside. So, that's my deal with October. That's my deal with suicide, depression. And so I hope that my example can encourage, others and stuff to say, well, hey, if I'm dealing with something like this, hey man, listen, let me go get some help. Let me go get some professional help. And that's why they're there. Because they can help you. But the only way that they can help you and stuff is if you humble yourself, you submit yourself to saying that I have a problem and I need some help. And my own understanding isn't going to get me to where I need to get to. And so with that being said, I'll go ahead and end on that note. It's your man right here, the one, the only, that beautiful Rhode Island Red Rooster. Telling you as always, continue to do your research, fact-finding studies, harness on your skills every day. So next time we talk, next time we meet, be safe, be easy, and peace out.